You've probably seen mention of an author who scammed her Kickstarter supporters out of $95,000. And that's what we're talking about today. My name is Taylor Rose, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about everything reading and writing. Today is going to be a little unhinged, and I hope that's okay. A few other channels have covered this topic already, but one thing I noticed is that they kind of focused on just one aspect of what's been happening. Instead, I would like to talk about everything in chronological order. So, Britt Andrews is a indie romance novelist, and unfortunately has some issues with accountability. I wanted to go through the entire timeline of what exactly was happening when. So I have here on the left the timeline of events, and on the right, supporting screenshots. There are a few screenshots that I was unable to relocate, unfortunately, but I tried my best. As we can see here, Britt Andrews has done really well for herself as an indie romance novelist. If she really is making over $300,000 a year on her books. This is an interview she did with Business Insider that talks about what spurred all of this on. Essentially, you know why, but she was furloughed in April of 2020 and apparently needed an outlet away from her children and husband. As I'm sure we all did, she was able to publish her first book that October, The Magic of Discovery. A big draw for her audience is that this was a reverse harem, why choose novel, as well as having a plus-sized FMC, female main character. Shortly thereafter, in December, she published her second book, The Magic of Betrayal, and in January of 2021, she announced that there were going to be new covers, starting with the third book. One thing she did promise is that all the books would still have the original style of cover. That ended up being false. Only the first three books got the first style of cover. And people were pretty upset with this change in cover because, as you can see here, the original cover was, a plus-sized woman. I think that cover's fine. Clearly it's bad Photoshop, but not offensive in the least. This is the second version of the cover. I think it is much worse. All of them you can see, like, the hair is just like a wig photoshopped on top of this other woman, and it looks, no offense to the artist. This is the cover that ended up making it to all 5 books, this style. People were mainly upset with this because, as you can see, this woman is much thinner than the previous model. And Brittany does post a lot about needing representation for plus-size people on her Instagram. A lot of people kind of felt like this was a slap in the face to now put this skinny girl on the covers. Despite that, she published the third book. She came out with her fourth book, The Magic of Destiny, and then her fifth book, The Magic of Eternity. So you can see these only had 2 cover variations at the beginning. With this, her series was done. She was done with the Emerald Lakes series. In October of 2021, she did make this post. I wasn't able to find the announcement, but this post on October 19th, she is pushing out the release date for her next novella, Lost in Sleepy Hollow. Obviously, it's meant to be a Halloween-y, autumnal release. Unfortunately, we have never seen it come to life anywhere. She does say here that I'm not canceling the pre-order, just moving the dates. On Amazon, you can only push that once. So we have to believe that when she didn't meet the next date, she had to cancel that pre-order. About 2 months later, in December, Britt announced that she was starting a Patreon with all of these benefits. Arcs of her new releases, audiobook codes, not safe for work art, a monthly Zoom call with her, 4 different tiers. Later in December, so you can see people started talking about a series that she announced, The Emerald Mates, but there's no trace of this. It was never released, apparently. She just clearly got people's hopes up. There are posts through the years, people asking, what happened to Emerald Mates? And nothing. There was another post that I missed, but apparently in the Facebook group, this is like, I think a kind of the first sign that things weren't all right in the Britt Andrews ship. December 29th, she posted that signed books on Etsy were delayed. And you'll see that this is kind of a common thread with Britt. Now we are in 2022. In January, she announced that there was going to be a third version of Emerald Lakes. This time, at least they were pretty different. They were discrete covers. People say it's because the other covers are too spicy. I don't think so. I mean, they're fully clothed compared to some of her other novels where it's like lingerie and stuff. I didn't really think this series necessitated a discrete cover, but I can definitely understand wanting a more simple cover if you're going to be carrying around a physical book or something. The next major event in this timeline is April 29th, 2022. So this is when she publishes the first book in the Demons of Port Black series, Demons in My Bed. So this is the first book, and it seems to have been pretty popular. A few weeks later, she launched a Kickstarter for her first series, Emerald Lakes, character boxes. And you can see here, they just look like something she made at home by herself. I mean, you could probably go buy that shirt for $9 at a Walmart. And those look like those tumblers that you can just pop paper into, you know? She started this Kickstarter in June. By July, it ended, and you can see that it never reached $15,000. And I think probably the big issue was the pricing. Again, like I said, you can go get a Hanes shirt like that and do an iron-on that you print off for extremely cheap. And she wanted $100 per box. $550 if you wanted all of the boxes. I mean, honestly, I just think that's really exorbitant for what ultimately doesn't appear to be like actual custom content, if that makes sense. Obviously, she did have a few backers, but not enough. On June 15th, 2022, Britt made this post in her Facebook group, again talking about the Lost in Sleepy Hollow. She discusses how she was burnt out last year, and that's why she wasn't able to finish it, but she's trying so hard this year to release in September, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. But she does mention that Demons in My Head will follow. So you would assume in the winter, the second book of her Demons of Port Black would be coming out. But here we are again. She announces a fourth cover set in September. So instead of publishing a new book, she starts selling a new cover. And if I'm being honest, I think that this cover is probably the best looking of the cover options. You can see here, like, this is definitely a plus size model. I would say even more so than the first original model that people like. This just looks so much better. And it's probably because at this point she was making bank off of this series, but ultimately it is just kind of a cash grab to have a fourth version of your book for not even a reason, like not even like the anniversary or a special event. They've all been at random times. Another sign that maybe not everything is going well in the world of Britt Andrews is this post from October where she's asking strangers to come pack orders with her. I guess they are in her Facebook group, but I would never invite people I don't know to my house. But some people speculate this is probably the cause of most of her issues with fulfilling orders and sending things out, that she's just having randos help her when it is a job that takes some attention to detail. Not that strangers can't have attention to detail, but how do you know? You don't know them. In November, Britt attended a convention called 20 Books to 50K. It is a group that she apparently had been a part of like since the beginning, where their goal is to essentially write 20 books in order to make 50K a year minimum. And obviously you might not need 20 books. If we go by that Business Insider article, Britt did not need 20 books, but she is here on the Reverse Harem panel basically talking about how to like that you should use your fan base to make money by selling them merch. After she returns from this convention, she makes a post about signed books. Her aunt died. She went to the week-long conference 2 days after she passed, I had to fly to Vegas. She got back from the convention and had the flu and is packing and signing 600 books by herself. So I guess her packing party maybe didn't pan out. She does say that she is willing to provide refunds if needed. And people in the comments were pretty nice about it. Like, take care of yourself. If people are understanding, then they need to be better humans. Shortly thereafter, roughly 3 weeks later, she makes this post on her group complaining about emails she received. And there's a user on Threads who thinks this is about them. But the point is, people were emailing her complaining that they haven't received their orders, sometimes for years. There was one user who was posting receipts about not having gotten her books that she ordered spring 2021. Just crazy stuff like that. But instead of actually providing refunds or shipping people the books that they paid you for, she makes this post calling out snarky emails and says that anytime someone's rude to her, she'll give them an immediate refund. And you'll see that this doesn't really hold any water. Things are kind of quiet until next year in May 2023. She publishes a standalone novel, A Hunt So Wicked. She claims this would be a series, but it doesn't appear that a second book ever came out, unless I'm missing something. I will say, I do think this is the best cover so far of any of her books. It does definitely fit the fantasy trends of that year, though. It reminds me of A Cruel Prince by Holly Black. In May, after publishing her next book, she started an account on Ream. So Ream is kind of like Patreon, but it is geared more towards writers providing written content. So she first started off with like mentorship opportunities to help other people write books and get them published and out there in the hands of readers. If you look up reviews of people's experience with her on this, they are very positive. She apparently is really flaky, hard to reschedule with, and then didn't actually talk about anything of substance during their phone calls, which is unfortunate. So at this point, Demons in My Head was supposed to have been published based on what she was telling people, but she did on June 20th have to make a post saying that the book's being pushed back, unfortunately. And again, people were really supportive of her at this point in time about deleting unkind comments. And I can't help but think that the comments her moderation team is deleting were from people unhappy they hadn't received their book order in over a year. But who knows? You know, those comments are gone. She also posts this TikTok talking about Demons in My Head. And one thing to note is that at this point, not only did she make the post pushing the date back, in this video, she talks about how overwhelmed she is based on the life events that have been occurring, specifically her aunt dying. In this video, she does mention that her books, The Emerald Lakes, were adapted to a storytelling app, Moments, Choose Your Story. Britt goes on a trip across Europe. I spent the entire last month traveling internationally. It was my intention to fly from Mallorca to London to prepare for the rare event, but she wanted to go home. She saw her kids and decided she couldn't leave them. So literally the day before this international event where people have traveled across Europe to meet her, she cancels. That in and of itself isn't really problematic, but given her history of just not alerting people in a time-appropriate manner, this is just another nail in the coffin of her reputation, honestly. And again, people were really nice about it in her group, probably because they delete negative comments. But she does promise people a 20% discount on their order, and they will have their order shipped to them with stickers and an art print as an apology. But only days later, people are complaining that their requests for refunds are ignored and that shipping is more than the 20% discount. So not only did they not get to meet her, they now have to pay her more to receive what they should have already had in their hands. So for a while, she had been having Patreon and Ream together, but on July 8th, 2023, she does announce that she is moving to Ream permanently. Something to note is that she says she's having a 30-day time frame to get everyone transitioned over from Patreon to Ream, and that she will refund people their unused Patreon fee if they go over to Ream and the subscriptions overlap. You can go look. Her Patreon, as of filming today, July 21st, still has 6 members. So either 6 people chose not to cancel their subscription to her, or she just never did anything. Like, you can delete your Patreon, which she should have done, but she didn't. So potentially for more than a year, people have been paying her for nothing. Maybe they love her and they really want to support her, but I think it is a little disingenuous to act like you're going to be ending things in one place and then just letting them drag on into eternity. This is when she announces her second Kickstarter. On August 28th, 2023, she has a Kickstarter for the second book in the Demons of Port Black series, Demons in My Head. And this Kickstarter does extremely well almost immediately. It's going to be an exclusive hardcover. She does say there will only be one print run for these gorgeous hardbacks, so make sure you get yours by hitting the green notify me button today. She hit the first 2 stretch goals in 2 days, right? They got past $20,000 in 2 days, and people are shocked. She does say the next goal is $50,000 to unlock sprayed edges, and you can see here that by September 5th, they have already hit $60,000. The next stretch goal would be $65,000 for illustrated chapter formatting, which sounds really cool. I wonder if it's going to be in the book. So you can see it ended up with $95,747. Shortly after this huge victory, Britt makes this post on Facebook, September 23rd, 2023, discussing refunds for signed books. So she is still selling signed books after complaining a year ago about them, and she is complaining again. She says that she's always offered refunds if you want them, but people shouldn't come at her aggressively. And I honestly think reading a lot of people's like the emails that they share on threads and stuff, these people aren't being aggressive. They are rightfully distraught that their order has taken 10 plus months when it really shouldn't have. So in this post, she does say that she is only sending out complete orders. So if one of the books is out of stock, you're not getting your order because she doesn't want to pay shipping twice. I understand why she's frustrated, but I don't think this was the right approach. She also says that she's shutting down her website and not selling books anymore. A few weeks later, she posts a new Halloween novel, Emerald Treats, so a novella spinoff of the Emerald Lake series about Halloween. She's doing a giveaway for a copy of this book when it never actually gets published either. So that's a little funny. This is when we receive her first update for the Kickstarter on November 14th. So this is a month and a half after it successfully closed. Basically, she doesn't say anything about the book. She went to another convention and then she caught COVID. So she also shows off some character art she received, which a lot of people decided wasn't really the vibe of the book series, but you do you. Between November 14th and her next update on January 2nd, somehow Britt has purchased a restaurant. She says that she's purchased it with her cousin. And on December 14th, I did lose this screenshot. She has another relative who died, and the last order of books she got was super damaged. So people aren't going to be receiving their books. In her update on January 2nd, she says that she hasn't finished the book and nobody is receiving the ebook copy that they were promised in January. So she does say we're still on track for a summertime fulfillment for boxes/orders. Early copies will be sent as soon as the book is written and edited. Okay, people are really positive in the comments supporting her. Obviously, a death in the family is a really hard thing to deal with. Nobody's blaming her for that. However, she immediately goes and stabs these people in the back. After yelling from the rooftop about how this was a Kickstarter exclusive, that's the only place you can get, and you better order it now or you're never going to see this book in your own hands, she goes and offers random people the ability to order this special edition book. And I guess she's not going back on her word about this is a single run. But like the whole point of the Kickstarter is you're getting something special or you're getting something at a discount. This isn't more expensive. Like, yeah, I guess this doesn't come with the extras. She did let more people pre-order the Kickstarter special edition book, which ruffled a lot of feathers. On January 13th, she made a post announcing this new special order, an extended Kickstarter exclusive run. Except this isn't on Kickstarter. Like, this is a drop form she's taking orders on. But okay. One thing that's really funny is I found this screenshot of a comment from January 20th, 2024, where someone is basically warning people off of eating at her restaurant, which opened that same month. This person is talking about how she is such a scammer and she hasn't paid people. And also, A, she's already lying about her Kickstarter book. B, she can't even fulfill orders correctly. If you go on Threads, there are so many posts from people who never received what they paid for, which is absolutely tragic. Her next update comes on February 8th, where, guess what? She's announcing a 5th version of the Emerald Lakes book. And you can see she's having her whole sob story. So much has been happening in my life, and I bought a restaurant that I'm running with my cousin, supposedly. We completely remodeled and rebranded. Reopened it on January 26th. She does say that she's still on track for the Kickstarter in the summer and that she's planning a new Emerald Lakes special edition. Every single time, she's also, again, talking about damaged book from the printer. She needs to find a new one. If every single order, so many of the books are damaged, like, obviously, a few are going to have issues, but for you to be unable to complete numerous orders is a little much. She talks about 2 events she's going to. At this point, Kayla is her PA. However, her next event that she went to was Readers Take Denver, which, if you haven't heard, has been labeled the Fire Festival of Books. Apparently, it was a huge disaster. And as far as I can tell from Britt's social media, nothing bad happened to her here, except none of her books arrived in time. Funnily enough, shortly after this event, Britt posts on this Kickstarter for Authors group asking if she can do 2 Kickstarters at once. I'm assuming people told her that was a bad idea and or not possible. Finally, after 5 months of silence, the Kickstarter supporters get an update on May 15th. Basically, she just says that she's had so many changes in her life that she hasn't been able to finish the book. And given the fact that this is like right before summer begins, people are starting to feel a little bamboozled. On the same day, she announces the Emerald Lakes 4-year exclusive hardback set. And I do understand, like, okay, this is like a big anniversary. Well, big, 4 years. I don't know. Five is the usual number, I guess. She is not doing it on Kickstarter. She did it on Baventi, which I believe her account was eventually banned. The books ended up being really pretty. Like that is a great cover for this. As of this month, people are still complaining that they never got this book. I don't think anybody ever received a copy of this book. Shortly thereafter, on June 9th, Britt made this post saying that all orders, pre-orders or otherwise, are expected to ship this week. This excludes the Kickstarter since that's not ready. She also announces that she wrote last week, which that's good. What I find interesting is that there are still complaints about not receiving orders after this. So I'm wondering what list she's referring to when she says all orders are expected to ship. Who knows? On August 2nd, she makes another update about shipping, 25 orders being shipped out. The comments are all people asking for updates about their order and whether their address was correct, etc. Every single post where she's talking about releasing a book or shipping, people are in the comments asking where their order is. We get another update again after a 3-month gap on the Kickstarter. A long overdue update. This may be a long one, so buckle up. I know that I have not been the best or even close to satisfactory in posting updates for you. That is my own failing, and for that, I do apologize. I never meant to cause doubt or concern or seem ungrateful to any of my backers. She tries to pretend that you just didn't understand this was an unfinished book when people did know it was an unfinished book, but you led them to believe that you were almost done. And surprisingly, the 21 comments on this post are pretty much all really positive. But a few days later, she posts on Kickstarter for Authors again. Are refunds a thing with Kickstarter? And they are. You can even refund individual backers. Who knows why she hasn't made that choice. She did say somewhere that she doesn't feel ethically obligated to refund people because the project's still open. It could be open for decades, girl. Like, come on. As long as you're dreaming about it, you can say it's open. I'm not sure where, like, she doesn't see the problem with that. On August 28th, she's moving along. We get another update with an exclusive teaser. And it's literally 2 paragraphs. A door slammed, and the hollow boom ricocheted through the corridor like a cannon blast in an empty fortress. My heart constricted, and I flew down the dark passage, determined to find some safe haven. Despite seeing the keycard scanners, I still tried every handle as I raced past. My heart sank as the end of the hallway came into view, while every attempt resulted in failure. Voices swept through the air, along with the only one that could invoke terror in me. I fought myself when I froze in place. My legs seemed to have disconnected completely from my brain. They weren't listening. And like, actually, that's not terrible. I do think it's just telling you a lot of things and not describing like her doing these things. But I find a lot of romance novels do stuff like this. My eyes floated shut as I inhaled deeply through my nose. To my surprise, it wasn't my own voice I heard, or even Slade's. Run, my kukula. And you can see 77 people liked this. This is probably the best teaser she's provided anyone, and also the shortest. On October 4th, we get another update where she says that we're going to get a new teaser tomorrow. The 5 comments are positive again, and she does post the teaser 2 days later, but it is a backers only post. As people began investigating Britt and her shenanigans, I guess, people uncovered that a small claims suit had been filed against her for $1,818 for work done on the restaurant she bought, with a court date of November 20th. A few days after this, she did another update addressing concerns. She also posted this on her Facebook. That isn't for the Kickstarter, but basically she is addressing the rumors or the concern that people had that she spent their Kickstarter money on this restaurant, and she says that wasn't the case at all. She also goes on to talk about her mental health and the fact that she's getting a divorce. Obviously, that is a trying time for anybody. I don't think anyone's holding that against her. She does say, my biggest regret is not updating anybody. I was still online. I'm still here taking accountability. I don't think you know what that means. But okay. She does try and outline what the money will be going to, and that she will be taking 3 weeks off to finish writing the book. Obviously, that didn't happen. On November 4th, a full-on lawsuit was filed against her and her husband for work performed on their residence, their abode, that they never paid for. So the work was completed in 2022 and 2023. It's now the end of 2024, and she has not paid $46,000 of a $103,000 bill. After being hit with that, she doesn't even show up to her small claims court appointment, and her lawyers do file a counter to the lawsuit at the very end of December. So it's been 3 months without updates, but we get one on January 8th, 2025. Again, for backers only. And on February 1st, a 6th version of Emerald Lakes comes out. You can see there at the top and the bottom, it's an omnibus. So it's the books just put together into one volume. With new covers, of course. Absolutely crazy. Like, she's trying to sell 6 versions of her books, and she can't even ship the earlier versions to people. On March 7th, we got some bad news. Bishop's was struggling. They made a call out to their community asking people to come back to the restaurant, to patronize them and keep the restaurant afloat. And the comment section on this post was full of locals being upset. The menu's different. The recipes are different. The prices are twice as much. On and on. And poor Britt is dodging left and right in the comments, trying to defend her business decisions. Shortly after she announces that her restaurant is falling under, her lawyer withdraws his counsel. He files a motion for leave to withdraw his counsel. The judge says yes, basically because Britt, again, has not paid someone providing her service. So she hasn't paid her lawyer despite multiple warnings, according to the judge. And so it just seems like one thing after another with her. And I will say, I can't imagine the stress that she is went through with all of these events, but she could have alleviated a lot of her stress by just refunding the Kickstarter from the beginning. So this post was from May 15th, 2024. And you can see these comments were from April of this year. So 11 months later, people still haven't gotten books. These comments are talking about the hardcover version of the book that nobody ever got. So interestingly, Britt is tagged in this post about a 10-day trip to Aruba, despite the fact she isn't paying her lawyer, isn't paying her contractor, and her restaurant is going under. Obviously, she probably didn't pay for this after all that stuff happened, but it doesn't look great. if I'm being honest. After she returned from her trip, Britt did make this update on the Kickstarter. So again, basically a 4-month break with no updates, saying that she's going to be posting bi-weekly from now on and going to give more teasers. On this post, it seems like she wasn't successful at getting these comments marked as spam because there are 52 comments asking for refunds. She then talks about her experience in Aruba. And one thing to note, this trip was for a specific like Facebook group. And this post from that Facebook group the year before talking about the trip this year mentions that ticket prices were $3,375. In her video about this, book lover Laura did do calculations on how much that sort of trip would have cost just for the minimum amount that he's talking about here on like a slow month for travel to beachy places, September. And it would have cost her over $12,000 just for a slow month. So I can't imagine how much it cost to go in April. At some point in May, she released a jot form allowing people to apply for refunds, but only if it was a pre-order from an event, it was for the special hardcover version, or it was from orders from her website. Of course, the Kickstarter backers saw this link. It was on her Facebook group, and they all started applying. Jotform did take down the form because it's against their terms of service. It doesn't appear that anyone actually received their refund from this. There are lots of comments asking if anyone has. She said in a group chat, "Oh, I'm still working on processing them," but no one has seen anything come through. On May 7th, Brightside Candles did post that they were no longer involved with the Kickstarter. So initially, they were going to make limited edition scented candles for the book. And of course, people started asking them, they started asking the cover artists, they started asking the voice actors for the audiobook, what's going on with the Kickstarter? And Brightside Candles comes with receipts that they have heard nothing. They haven't made any candles. They spoke to Britt to establish a relationship, and then it's been radio silence. Really sad. They show receipts showing that they have been messaging her with zero response. And because of this, Britt makes her next update on May 14th, where she talks about the massive personal and emotional upheaval she's had, ending a marriage, yada, 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 her restaurant, apparently these lawsuits. She does specify that Kayla is no longer her PA. People have been harassing a Kayla, maybe not even her Kayla. And there are 100 comments on this update, and all of them are fighting for a refund. People were chewing her apart in the comments over all of this. I want my full $332 back. On the 28th, so she's been doing really well. She's been posting bi-weekly. She comes with another backers only update. Yay for progress. So she does post this next update on June 11th for backers only, but someone has shared what it says. And she says she's deep in the final chapters. She went with the content development editor and everything clicked into place. What makes me laugh is that she's typing on her laptop, but then slams it shut and then is writing in a notebook. I mean, everyone has their own process. So basically that's it. She says she's almost done. Again, she gets chewed out in the comments. And this one brings up the lawsuits that, and this comment brings up the lawsuits that were going on, which, you know, I'm surprised this comment hasn't been taken down by Britt. After all these updates about the book, we do get this update from Bishops. Unfortunately, their Hail Mary month in March didn't pan out, and they're closing 2 days after this post, June 14th. So they basically tell people to come and order what they can while it lasts. Meanwhile, some people have been posting online that they are in contact with the Attorney General of Ohio to get this situation sorted out once and for all. I'll be honest, I don't know how much water this carries, but, you know, any movement's good movement. And you can see on threads there are a lot of injured parties. Romance Book Reader is a big one with lots of threads about what exactly is going on. So we're down to the latest 2 updates. June 25th, backers only. And again, someone shared the text. She includes an excerpt in this one that has everyone screaming it is AI because it's so weird. I don't know. I guess it's between 2 of the men. Ferris, he interrupted, wiping his mouth and matching my crouch. Blood mage. And you're one of the exiled, the unhinged one. Talon, I growled, tail lashing, and I'm perfectly hinged, thank you very much. He barked a laugh. Well, I'm not hinged, not even 1%, and you're the demon currently perched like a gargoyle with produce as weapons. I glanced at the apple still clutched in my hand. Fair point. So I ate it, core and all, maintaining eye contact right back at him. What? That's just so weird. And like I can definitely see the difference between this and even her other excerpt. So she's saying that the manuscript's going into final editing and formatting and everything. As soon as I have some finished designs, I'll post them here for you all to see, despite the fact she said that she's been working with artists this whole time. This has confused a lot of people. And again, in lots of her posts, people have been discussing how the tariffs would be impacting, because obviously her quote's 2 years old. It's not going to hold water anymore. She was getting them printed internationally. And now with the tariffs, the books are going to be what? Twice as expensive as they used to be? 3 times as expensive? Who knows? Like, depending on where she's ordering from. She apparently can't make a decision because she doesn't know the exact page count. Who knows? I don't know if that really impacts things much. She also states at the end of the update that she is not reading comments because that is a personal boundary she's set. Even though this isn't her personal Facebook, this is a business page essentially. People online don't think that she wrote that excerpt at all. You can see this person had the longer excerpt, but they're just like, explain to me like I'm 5 how her writing style changed this much. And everyone thinks it's ChatGPT. It's AI. It might not be. To me personally, this does read like a really rough draft. Like she just was like spitting things out to have them there. He grabbed a whole pineapple and bit into it like an apple, spikes and all. Impromptu food fight, breathing hard. The kitchen looked like a produce section had exploded. Totally worth it though. This was the most fun I had since Palmer let me almost nod her. Anyways, I don't know. Poor ChatGPT. That's the case. And a lot of people are like, we were super fans. Like, we can tell this isn't you. But now you've just broken our hearts. And her latest update was on July 9th. Final edits, character cards, and a teaser. One thing that has upset a lot of people is that she shared these character cards in her Facebook chat when they're supposed to be Kickstarter exclusive. She hadn't even shared them on Kickstarter yet. And people are kind of just really confused because what kind of design is this? She, like, that doesn't even look like spray painted words. And then it just looks like she knocked this up in paint and posted someone else's art on top. And the comments on this update are still extremely negative, asking for refunds. I am here unwillingly. I want off your fake sob story in your AI written book. Your art is also very clearly tampered with. Mind you, again, I haven't seen it here, but through other avenues that are valid, confirmed coming from your group, where you were sharing them instead of here. Considering it was a Kickstarter exclusive, it should only be shared here. Which I agree. Some people think that the AI accusations do hold weight because you can see this ad here from March 2024 is clearly AI. Also, not even the style of her world building at all. Plus this one. A lot of people are saying like his hand just disappears. Nobody's looking at each other. Just strange. Like, what's going on? Yep. So that is the chronological timeline of everything that's been happening with Britt Andrews over the last 5 years since she became an author. I definitely think that this situation could have played out very differently with a lot less angry people. We will see. Since our last update was on the 9th, the next update should be this Wednesday, the 23rd. That was a wild ride. I am just shocked that so many people had issues getting orders from her. I guess this is a sign to do research when you are supporting a Kickstarter. I've supported 2 Kickstarters in my life. One was for a cat nest desk bed, and unfortunately, after moving, there's not really a good space for it, so that's in the closet. And then the Brandon Sanderson 4 secret projects that I did for my husband's birthday. But he was such a big name that I wasn't concerned at all. And then for the cat nest desk bed, I think it helped that it was a physical object and they had like obviously real photos of the item being used by cats. So it was just like getting them manufactured and shipped over from. Anyways, I honestly don't think that there's anything that can be done for this whole situation to appease anybody, but I'm hoping that the victims emotionally recover. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.